We all know Hyrule, as designed and laid out in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, has naturally beautiful visuals in every region. It's just one of the things these two Zelda games in particular are widely known and praised for, the gorgeous overworld. But after sinking thousands of hours into these games, I wanted to take it a step further. So I started looking at the list of planet Earth's 7 natural wonders to see what about these places makes them so wonderful. And then I made my own list of equally, if not more impressive natural formations found throughout Hyrule. For reference, the 7 natural wonders of planet Earth are the Grand Canyon in the United States, the Great Barrier Reef off the coast of Queensland in Australia, the harbor of Rio de Janeiro in Brazil, Mount Everest on the border of Nepal and Tibet, the Paricutin volcano in Mexico, Victoria Falls of the Zambezi River, and the Aurora Borealis, also known as the Northern Lights, which is the only one that doesn't have an exact location because it's a phenomena that happens in the sky, not an impressive natural formation. And yeah, Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom both feature the Northern Lights, and they're beautiful, but for the purposes of this video, the Aurora Borealis gets an honorable mention, and is not included on my list of the 7 natural Hyrulean wonders of the world. And so with that said, let's jump into number 7. Kicking off the list is Skull Lake, also known as Skull Pond in Japan. It's nestled at the end of the North Akala Valley and Tempest Gulch in the upper region of Deep Akala, surrounded by an astounding vertical wall of rock. More true to the Japanese name, it is more of a large pond than a small lake as far as size and depth, but I'm not here to argue semantics. The left eye, and by that I mean its left eye, so the eye that's on our right when looking at it from most perspectives, is an impressively tall pillar that juts towards the sky. In Breath of the Wild, we're tasked with reaching the summit to access the Zunakai Shrine, while in Tears, this pillar is hollowed out to reveal the Skull Lake Cave. Large purple and pink colored changing flower-like plants grow in the lake, and they seem to be unique to this body of water as I've not found them anywhere else around Hyrule, making Skull Lake that much more qualified to be on this list. I have no reasonable or logical explanation to theorize how a pillar of rock this gigantic could just grow straight out of the ground like this, especially perfectly placed to be the eye of a skull-shaped body of water. But the lake itself was likely formed by centuries of water running from a river that carved out the Tempest Gulch, moving through the Akala Valley and eventually dried up. Up next is the Tanagar Canyon, which almost entirely cuts off the entire northwestern corner of Hyrule, separating Tabantha and Hebra from the ridgeland and woodland regions, except for a road carved around the northern edge and the Great Tabantha Bridge, which spans across the southern end. Down here, the canyon empties off the edge of the map between the border of Tabantha Frontier and the Gerudo Highlands. Tanagar is known as Kakuja Valley in Japan, and this canyon is most comparable to the Grand Canyon in the United States, which was carved out by the Colorado River. Likewise, this canyon was likely formed by water eroding through the rock and spilling out over the western edge of Hyrule over the course of thousands of years, but it's also possible this was entirely caused by intense wind erosion from Dinral constantly traveling down this straightaway. Most of the canyon today is fairly desolate, but the Forgotten Temple is located on the northern end, which is obviously not part of the natural formation, and we're not here to talk about that kind of stuff in this video. Number 5 is the Rist Peninsula, which lies on the eastern edge of Hyrule, spanning into the Akala Sea and forming Malin Bay, most likely named after Milan from Ocarina of Time. In Japan, it's known as the Magyuzu Peninsula, which is an anagram for Uzumaki, which translates to spirals or whirlpools. So it's possible that naming it Rist for the English-speaking audience is an anagram of the word stir. Anyway, this spiraled sandbar is as unique as it is confounding. Like, how does something this impressive even come to exist? We see the elevation of nearby mountains of Akala taper off quickly as we approach the shore, but how does the land remain just above sea level in a pattern that would eventually form the iconic spiral shape? It's mind-blowing when you think about it, to say the least, making for one of the most beautiful sights in the game. And not only that, but the center of the spiral is a symbolically important location. There's a shrine here in both games, meaning the ancient Sheikah and Zonai both knew something we don't about this place, and in Tears, the Light Dragon drops her final dragon tear here, for a memory we can only recover after recovering all others. And now there's no earthly natural wonder to compare Rist Peninsula to, but in 1970 on the northeastern shore of the Great Salt Lake in Utah, a structure was built of mud, salt crystals, and rock called Spiral Jetty. And the resemblance is too strong to go unmentioned, even if Nintendo never officially stated having used it as inspiration. Number 4 on my list goes to the Great Plateau. Probably the most well-known location on this list, as it's where Breath of the Wild begins and has by far the most lore and history attached to it. It's where the Kingdom of Hyrule was founded by Rauru and Sonia during ancient times and is thus arguably one of the most sacred of all the natural wonders. It's known in most parts of the world as the Plateau of the Beginning, the Plateau of Awakening, Plateau of Origins, Plateau of Dawns, the Forgotten Plateau, or the Land of Beginnings, suggesting this is not only the birth point of the Kingdom of Hyrule, but perhaps even where everything else rose out of the sea from this origin point. Possibly formed by a combination of internal and external geological processes, most likely tectonic plate collisions causing uplift as the crust buckles. Some of you may want to argue that there is a wall built around that's all man-made, but this is actually just extra support structure built on after the fact. When you move around the plateau looking at the base, it is rock from most sides. On a real-world note, the Great Plateau is one of the first parts that the overworld developers took on while creating the map, and then expanded their ideas into the other regions. But anyway, this large secluded chunk of land is considered its own region in Breath of the Wild, but in Tears it's considered part of Hyrule Field, while Central Hyrule has become more centralized. And since I just mentioned the extra walls that are clearly not natural, there's an entryway carved out as well. But at some point, assumably after the calamity, the entry became blocked and access to the plateau was completely cut off, allowing an ecosystem all of its own to thrive. Its steep slopes prevent anyone from traveling to or from it without special equipment or improved stamina, hence why it stood as a completely abandoned location until the calamity struck over a century ago. Number 3 on my list goes to the Lost Woods, definitely the most confusing and mysterious of the natural wonders I've curated together. Barely even being traversable, this maze-like forest perpetually shrouded in fog is also the center of life for the children of the forest, aka the Koroks, as well as the most wise and talkative tree I've ever seen, the Great Deku Tree. But attempting to reach the Korok Forest at the center of the Lost Woods has led to the end of many fellow Hyrulean travelers and adventurers. Its layout is intelligently designed to cause almost anyone who enters it to become disoriented and irreversibly lost, and it's believed that those who never return are transformed into a monster, either a Stalfos, Skull Kid, or a Deku Scrub. And the only way to successfully navigate it, at least in this version or incarnation or whatever, is to follow the direction of the wind. But despite these dangers, the ancient people of Hyrule did discover the only point of entry to the southeast and ventured in part way, marking the path with torches. And due to its inherently treacherous nature, the Lost Woods have become a natural shield used to protect the Master Sword from intruders who would otherwise abuse its power. And besides the Great Deku Tree, the Lost Woods are also filled with another unique type of tree known as ogre trees. Their bark is all knotted up to resemble faces, ugly ogre faces, but who's judging? These trees are found exclusively in the Lost Woods, or directly below in the depths in Korok Grove, adding to the lore that perhaps these two are people who ventured into the woods and never found their way out. Moving on down to number 2. Death Mountain is an enormous active volcano in the Elden region, and its summit is the highest traversable point in Hyrule, making it comparable to 2 of Earth's natural wonders, Mount Everest, the highest traversable point on our planet, and the Paracutan volcano, which just suddenly formed in 1943 and continuously erupted for 9 straight years. In Japan, or at least the Japanese versions of A Link to the Past and A Link Between Worlds, it's only known as Death Mountain while Link traverses the Dark World, while in the Light World, it's known as Mount Hebra. So it's interesting to understand once upon a time, Death Mountain and Hebra Peak were counterparts from alternate dimensions. Being the only known volcano in the history of Hyrule, it's no mystery how it formed, typical movement and interaction of tectonic plates and whatnot. But what is a mystery is how the throat, conduit, and magma chamber are hollowed out enough to allow ancient Gorons to have built their lost city of Garandia, or how the city survived even throughout the eruptive state we see during Breath of the Wild. Now dormant in Tears of the Kingdom, Death Mountain's ambient temperature at the surface is much cooler compared to before. All the heat is now underground in the newly revealed caverns and caves. Also newly revealed are the twin lizard ponds just north of the volcano itself. Similar to Skull Lake, it's a mystery how such a perfectly formed pool of water has formed, but it's super cool nonetheless. And the number one natural wonder of Hyrule, according to me, is Hyrule Ridge. West of Hyrule Field and east of the Tanagar Canyon, this immense stretch of wetlands and mountains is, in my opinion, one of the most underappreciated regions on the entire map, but one of the most strangely beautiful and enigmatic as well. I put it at number one because it has two distinct features that make for such a special place. The first is the Cerise Scablands, where the massive dragon's blood tree forest grows, some of the most unique and massive trees found around the overworld, some growing about as tall as the Great Deku Tree itself. And the second fascinating feature of Hyrule Ridge is the Thundra Plateau, another plateau, but this one is under perpetual thunderstorm. Now, I don't know anything near enough about meteorology or geology or any kind of field that would help understand how this is possible. And obviously there are some non-natural structures built to facilitate a shrine quest, but the sheer fact that this electrically supercharged lot of land attracts such a powerful, long-lasting storm is nothing short of amazing when you really stop to think about it. Alright, now let's see which one of my channel members is the 8th wonder of Hyrule by spinning the wheel. Yeah, round and round she goes. Oh, she's slowing down. Oh. Congratulations to Zarek. That's pretty based, actually. Zarek has been with the channel since basically the beginning. He was the first member of this channel. So congratulations to you, brother. Thank you guys so very much. Thank you to all my channel members. If you want to get in on the spin on the next one or have access to any of my other channel membership perks, check out my memberships. I think they're pretty cool, I'm just saying. If you made it this far, please like the like button on your way out. Show it some love. And subscribe if you want to catch more of my Zelda stuff when I drop it next. I'm thinking about doing 7 modern marvels instead of 7 natural formations as a follow-up to this video. Leave a comment saying modern marvels or something else like that if that's something you want. Anyway, thank you again so very much for watching. I'll see you again real soon in the next one, and until then, stay cool and always keep punching out there. Aloha.